Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. No, it's not Wagyu, it's Wagyu. Yes, USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, all of our independents from coast to coast. Whoever's tuning in, thanks for joining us also on TV, all of our cable outlets, as well as hotel TV, where applicable, and, of course, everybody listening in on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Thanks for joining us also on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer. There's a whole bunch of them, folks. And, of course, Pandora. We don't want to forget Pandora as well. All right. Now that we get all that out of the way, how about this? How about chasing history? You think of the great one, the great ones, right? The GOATs, right? The greatest of all time. Well, of course, we have Michael Jordan in basketball. We have Henry Aaron, likely in baseball. And in hockey, we have Wayne Gretzky. But the great one better start looking over his shoulder because Alex Ovechkin is right behind him, and Alex Ovechkin is going to end up with more goals, an unthinkable achievement, than Gretzky's total of 894 in his career. That's right. Now, Alex Ovechkin scored, 1, 2, 3 goals, yes, and a 32nd career hat trick to move closer to Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. How exciting. And in fact, here's the first goal. This one's courtesy of, we'll call it the National Hockey League.
Last time I looked, he was a shooter.
Here's Ethan Frank. He's a shooter as well. Oh, what a hard hit, though, from Darnell Nurse. Jacob Chikrin. Chikrin waits, Ovechkin fires, scores!
That's right. That's Alex Ovechkin's first goal. Now, think about this. He's inching closer and closer to breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. And, of course, that was the first of a few. And the Washington Capitals scored. Listen, they just keep scoring and scoring and scoring. These guys are good. And I'll tell you what. This is not going to be Alex Ovechkin's last year. This guy is just going to keep on trucking. He's 39 years old. He's still doing it. Yeah, he's within 13 goals of breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. He scored his 880th, 881st, 882nd. The audio you just heard was from his 880th. Let's check out his 881st goal.
Forcing it off his stick for Protas, and it's 3-on-2 for Washington. Taps over the line, drop pass, Ovechkin scores! From Strome, Alex Ovechkin, goal number 880. Washington 3, Edmonton 1, and Ovechkin now 15 away from being the league's all-time goals leader.
Well, Calvin Pickett's going to have a few words for Gene Principe. And he's now on that long list of goaltenders that he scored against in his career. And the Washington Capitals have just started to generate chances. Good drive into the zone, and just a little bit too deep on the coverage defending that line. And you allow Alexander Ovechkin to walk into the top of the circles down Main Street, and he scored a ton of goals with that wicked wrister.
That was courtesy of Sportsnet. Of course, thank you, Sportsnet, for that audio feed. And yet, here's another one from Bleacher Report and Open Ice.
Jacob Chikrin. Chikrin waits, Ovechkin fires, scores!
That was his second goal, which we have heard.
The second tonight, 881 for Alex Ovechkin. The inch is even closer to Wayne Gretzky.
89 miles an hour. And it was as accurate can get. He's on the right side of your screen, and you barely can blink. And that puck is in the net. And yeah, he goes right to the glass to his boy Sergei, and there it is. What a shot.
Alex lives on the left dot, the left face-off dot. That guy is an absolute sniper. If you know nothing about hockey, this is an exciting player, and he has been for many, many years. Now, of course, with the Caps up 6-3, near the end of the third, Ovechkin did hit an empty netter to secure the hat trick.
Score to Emerson, it sticks snapped. Here's Ovechkin! Got it! And there go the hats everywhere. Another hat trick for Alexander Ovechkin. 12 to tie and 13 away from history.
Wow.
And with authority, did he fire that in the middle of the net? He's going to go for a lap, I think. Look at him. Yes, he is. He's going for a lap around the rink.
All right, that's great stuff, Alex. Mercy. I mean, look, 26 years after Gretzky scored his final goal, Ovechkin is now within striking distance of that record. I think he's going to do it this season. He should. And look, Alex started the 24-25 season hot, scored 15 in 18 games, but he suffered a broken fibula in November, causing him to miss 5 weeks and prompting many to fear that he wouldn't be able to take the run at the record this season. Not true! And of course, this guy, he just knows how to do it. Of course, after scoring 3 on November 17th against the Vegas Golden Knights, this guy also had an injury that sidelined him. So this guy has been playing, and Alex Ovechkin is the king of the mountain right now, and he hasn't missed a beat since returning to play, scoring 4 goals in his first 5 games back and continuing on the hot streak as the season has gone on. And Ovechkin currently sits at 7th in the NHL with 29 goals this season. 29! This guy's 39 years of age, despite only playing 40 games. That's right, 40 games. And there are 25 games left in the regular season, giving Alex plenty of time to go for Gretzky's record before the playoffs. And of course, an astounding round of applause. Alex Ovechkin. Folks, if you don't know anything about hockey, you better watch some of this. We're going to do a little bit of hockey today. We're going to take a quick look at those standings. And as a matter of fact, those Washington Capitals right now in the Eastern Conference, if you look at these standings right now, there are 84 points in the total points column, and 84 is good enough for place number 1. As a matter of fact, it looks to me like they are approximately 12 points ahead of next would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, who always seem to fade anyway when it comes to the playoffs, if you know what I mean. And that one's for all you Canadian fans out there, because it seems like there is an ongoing issue with the Toronto Maple Leafs that they'll win in the regular season, but then they just choke and pack it in early. So it's the Caps in first in the Eastern Conference. Toronto is in second. The Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers are in third. They sit 1 point behind Toronto. The Carolina Hurricanes, a very, very good squad year in and year out. They sit 1 point behind Florida. Also tied with Carolina are the New Jersey Devils. 1 win behind them are the Tampa Bay Lightning, a very good squad. The Detroit Red Wings have found themselves in the playoff picture right now as it stands. Now, Tampa they have 3 games in hand on the team ahead of them, being New Jersey. They have 1 game in hand on everybody else except Florida. They have 2 games in hand, meaning they still have 2 more games to play in or possibility of 4 points. And the Ottawa Senators have returned to the possible playoff picture here, and they currently occupy the last spot. They are tied with Columbus. However, they do have a little bit more to offer in the conference games. So right now it's Ottawa occupying the last spot. Now over in, of course, the Western Conference, it's Winnipeg. Winnipeg is ahead of Dallas by 7 points, or basically 3.5 wins. 1 win is worth 2 points in hockey, and a tie or an overtime loss even is worth 1 point. And they both have the same amount of games played at 57. Vegas also 57 points at 74 points, sitting in third place. Minnesota sitting tied with Edmonton in fourth and fifth place. The Colorado Avalanche, boy, those guys are good. Watch out for them. They're sitting just a couple of wins behind Minnesota and Edmonton. The Kings, a very, very tough physical squad, are sitting in the 7th spot. Vancouver just hanging on to the 8th spot over Calgary, who is 1 point behind them, but they also have 1 game in hand. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the NHL trade deadline, who could do what, and also about the ratings from the All-Star weekend in comparison to what the NBA, that's right, the NBA, what those clowns had done in their All-Star effort, which was laughable to say the least. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call
714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. And welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in to everybody else up and down the West Coast, throughout the heartland, on all of our independent affiliates, as well as our other affiliates, our network affiliates, all the way down to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for joining us there. Also in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus everybody else on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and Wealth Cable Television affiliates. Thanks for joining us in select markets, as well as Hotel TV and all Nielsen-rated markets. And Chicago Food Favorites. Check them out on Facebook, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group where you can share your recipes, your favorite restaurants, and just talk about food in general. Guess what, folks? It's all free, so have a look. All right, sticking with hockey over in the Western Conference, talking a little bit about the playoff picture again. It was Winnipeg leading the way over Dallas, Vegas, Minnesota, Edmonton, Colorado, LA, Vancouver, Calgary, right on the outside of that picture. And, you know, there are some teams that are looking to make some deals just like everybody else. Well, look, there are trade deadlines, but you got to really ask yourself, who are the trade targets? Let's think about this for a second. I mean, in the hockey world, Brock Nelson, arguably one of the most sought-after trade targets out there in the Islanders center, is eligible to become an unrestricted free agent, and the team and players might want to extend his contract. I think they should. I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's always around the net. This guy scores a lot of points, but he's in on a lot of positive plays. You don't really see him on the wrong side of the ledger with the plus-minus. Kyle Palmieri is another one. Same team, the Islanders winger. So you got a center and a winger, also eligible to become an unrestricted free agent. So you want to keep these guys together if possible. Dylan Cousins is another guy over in Buffalo. Buffalo's playing very well. And look, despite what they've done, I don't care if they're in last place, this is a much improved Buffalo squad. Much improved. And I can say that they're better than, well, 3 other teams in the NHL. But these guys are actually a very good squad. So do you want to trade Dylan Cousins right now? I'm not really sure. I mean, could you get something back for him that has some value? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. How about Ryan O'Reilly? And this guy, remember, he was with Colorado before he went or was dealt off to Nashville. And Nashville's not really doing much. If you look where Nashville sits right now, you scratch your head and say, well, geez, these guys are literally 9 games under 500 with 7 overtime losses. Really, they have 16 losses more than the 20 wins that they have. So they really have 20 wins against 36 losses. And that Nashville team, of course, they're in a serious rebuild, and really they're just a few wins ahead of the Chicago Blackhawks. My beloved Blackhawks are in the toilet, but Nashville, you'd never really think that they'd be down that far. I mean, even Seattle had a great run last year, and geez, they're actually 9 games under 500, which opposed to last year. Wow, it's just crazy. But I think Ryan O'Reilly is a good target for quite a few teams. Braden Shen, there's another guy. So this guy is the St. Louis Blues captain, and of course, he has a little bit of time remaining on his contract, and St. Louis is right there. They're literally 2 wins out of the picture. We'll call it 2.5 wins out of the playoff picture right now. And ironically, Anaheim is 1 point behind them. How about those Anaheim Ducks? Give them a nice round of applause. But also, you have Nemec with the New Jersey Devils defenseman. This guy might be expendable after playing in the American Hockey League for most of last year. And also Brian Dumoulin from the Anaheim Ducks. This guy is a defensive-minded player who can play a lot of minutes. And so when you look at that, you say, well, all right, let's take a closer look at what's going on here with this deadline. Now, I started out with Brock Nelson. And Brock, this guy is a good rental. And so if the Isles aren't really going to compete, and the Isles right now, they sit approximately 3 wins. Well, they have 1 game in hand we'll call it 3 wins behind the last place Ottawa Senators in the playoff picture. Do they want to make a deal? Well, they could probably get a little bit more as a rental, and this guy's the ultimate prize. Look, he is only 33. When I say only 33, he plays like a 23-year-old. He's topped 34 goals in 3 straight seasons while helping the New York Islanders reach the playoffs each of the last 2. So do you want to deal him off? I don't know. This guy's also helped his trade stock by heating up offensively. He's on pace to score another 50-plus point season and should top 25 goals for the 7th time in his career. Still, the Isles' recent hot play could push Lou Lamoriello to maybe sell a rental like Nelson, with New York pushing back into the playoffs race in the Eastern Conference. Not really sure. Since he's been one of those guys in the past you really want to keep around, but I mean, further helping Nelson's case is the fact that he has 27 goals and 50 points in 78 career playoffs games. And so with 7-game winning goals on top of it and 2 series clinching games against the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Boston Bruins. So this guy could easily exploit matchups as a number 2 center and power play contributor. 61 of his 292 goals are on the power play for a contending team that actually looks pretty good. How about Mikko Rantanen? Here's a guy nobody talked about. Now, Rantanen has already been traded once in a shocking blockbuster 3-player deal with the Blackhawks and the Avalanche. But the star caliber of this guy, he's from Finland. This guy, as a winger, has not really worked out yet in Carolina. Could he be back on the block? I don't know. I mean, look, with this guy reportedly unlikely to sign a long-term deal with the Carolina Hurricanes, it would not surprise me to see this guy moved yet again. So Carolina general manager Eric Tulsky is one of the smartest executives in the game. By working in one of the sport's smallest markets, he seems unlikely to hang on to Rantanen as a rental and lose him for nothing. So even if the 2-time 100-point producer could push the offensive deficit, the Hurricanes, over the top, he still is a likely target. How about Bowen Byram, another defenseman from the Sabres? Now, this guy, I think, is likely to get moved. And this guy was traded last deadline, even though, yes, he's only 22 and under team control for the foreseeable future. He is a great skater. This boy can skate. And that's one really good thing, which is why teams have reportedly been checking in on him. And even though there is a level of damaged goods affiliated with a player like this guy, being traded twice, the upside is really off the charts. As a matter of fact, the Sabres have a host of needs since they sit in the basement of the Atlantic Division, and you can bet that this guy will return, and the return, if he doesn't, is going to be a very solid one. There's going to be a lot of take back on this, a lot of drawbacks. So the Sabres, that is going to make a little bit of money on this. They're going to get some good players. So why not deal him off? They're going to end up getting him back anyway. He's a great rental. How about Brad Marchand? You'd never expect this guy to be on there. In a previous list, like people have said Marchand being dealt with, I don't know what happened basically when hell freezes over, but it's been frigid up in New England in the past month. And if you look at where the Boston Bruins lie, they actually are sitting, well, in 10th place in the Eastern Conference. They are 1 point behind Ottawa, but Ottawa has a game in hand. And so I don't know, man. I mean, Boston's got a lot of weapons. I don't think they're going to deal them. But it's been, of course, frigid, like I said, and Marchand is rumored to be on the block since Boston is stuck in a neutral push, really, for the Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't know. I don't think they're going to, but Marchand could be traded and then re-signed. He's another great rental since there is a precedent for such behavior taking place, and the Bruins are just 2 points, as I mentioned, back of the playoff spot, but they will not have defenseman Charlie McAvoy due to a shoulder infection sustained in the Four Nations playoff, and they were spinning their wheels a bit heading into the break anyway. So Marchand, this guy's going to be 37 in just a couple of months, but he topped 20 goals again already this season and is a bona fide playoff performer, proving the fact that he has played for the Cup 3 times and won it in his rookie season, 2010 and 11. He has 138 career playoff points in 157 games and brings the pest factor. This guy is clearly the peskiest player in the National Hockey League. This is a guy that would lick players because he doesn't want to get hit for cross-checking penalties. He would just lick them instead. How about Middlestead? Casey Middlestead from Colorado. Middlestead has all the physical tools and to be an NHL star, as I see it. But for some reason, I don't know, he just hasn't done it. And, a lot of times it's system, folks. System. According to the Daily Faceoff NHL Inside, the Avalanche are open to dealing their number 2 center, even though he could top 50 points for the 3rd straight season. He just doesn't seem to fit. And the bigger question is, what the hell are they going to get back and who are they going to deal him to? Now, Seth Jones is one guy that the Blackhawks should be dealing off. This guy is a complete disaster as I see it. And I think Vegas might be a spot for him. And Jones has been traded twice. He's a minus-eating two-way defenseman. So the guy could eat minutes, which is good. And I don't know. He just doesn't fit in the Chicago Blackhawks system, just like him and his brother. They just did not. And let's face it, if the Hawks can move him, they could clear up $9.5 million in cap space all the way through per year through 2030. And that would be a very good situation if the Hawks could get rid of him. And this guy's a vet, so he can play a shutdown role. And again, if Theodore stays on the shelf for Vegas, look for Seth Jones to move over to the Vegas Golden Knights. That would probably be the best spot. John Gibson also is another guy available. We're going to get to John when we come back after the break here on the Sports Circus. Lots more hockey to come. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment brought to you in part by The Sports Circus. Make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, all kinds of other platforms as well. Make sure you check them out. All of our shows, if you miss any part of this show, you can go to any one of those platforms and listen to this show in its entirety. Just make sure you pick the date that you want. Hell, these shows go back all the way to 2016. We've got over 2,100 shows that we've done here on the Sports Circus. And of course, we just keep adding more. It's nuts, folks. We started out with just radio on a Saturday morning right here in Las Vegas on Fox 1340. And then we went over about 6 weeks after that to 920 The Game, NBC Sports 920 The Game. And then about, maybe 4 months after that, we went over to KMZQ 670 The Score right here in Las Vegas, which was SB Nation. They gave us a shot at the 5 o'clock slot Monday through Friday, and we never looked back since. A month later, they asked us to be on the National on SB Nation, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and crazier. We added television a few years ago, and let's face it, folks, all those hours and hours. Now, we used to do a couple of hours a day, too, by the way. And so carrying on for a couple of hours, listen, when your content is good and you've got a lot to add, it goes by quick, and you actually run out of time. I mean, here, even in this segment here, talking about NHL trades, the trade deadline, who's available, who could be available, and so forth, we could do probably 2 hours just on this alone. Never mind all the other topics we want to cover. So we're going to jump right back into the NHL trade deadline. Who are the targets? And this is, of course, according to BetMGM.com. So that's where we're pulling this information from. We want to make sure that we give them the credit because they compiled some information, and we're adding our narrative because you need to know. So John Gibson is another target, as I've mentioned in the last segment, the goalie for the Anaheim Ducks. Now, Gibson, of course, is the lone goalie on the list of all the ones that I've mentioned. And still, something tells me this guy's probably going to get moved. And even though he was injured during a game against Nashville about a week or so ago, this guy, I think, is going to go. And Gibson, he did play 23 games serving as Anaheim's number 2 goalie behind Lukas Dostal. But his above-average numbers are probably what's going to get him, and that's a .269 goals against average, .914 save percentage in a limited role. That's pretty damn good. 9-9-2 in a team that's sub-500 in the first place. And Gibson is signed all the way through the 2027 season, and so the Pittsburgh native would make a fascinating acquisition for either the Flyers or the Penguins. Never know. And maybe even package him with Trevor Zegras as part of a larger deal to the Flyers or the Pens, who recently waived Tristan Jarry. Now, I don't even understand why Tristan Jarry was waived, but that's their goalie over there. I don't know. It's sort of a head-scratcher. Maybe they just swap goalies, call it a day. And look, the Flyers and Pens rank near the bottom of the NHL stats in team save percentage, which could make Gibson a good option for a deal, or a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who's just on the outside looking in, right behind Ottawa. They could try to upgrade since they are in contention for the playoffs, as I just mentioned. And see, here's the funny thing, folks. People say, well, goalies, or this guy's hot, this guy's not, whatever. This guy has good numbers, this guy has bad numbers. Let me tell you something. When it comes to hockey, good defense makes an average goalie a really good goalie. And that good goalie turns into a great goaltender when he has good defensemen in front of him. So as I looked at it, I just scratched my head with the Tristan Jarry thing. It would occur to me that the defense is what the Pittsburgh Penguins need to work on rather so much than the goalie. If you leave your goalie hung out to dry on odd man rushes left, right, and center, guess what's going to happen? Your goalie's going to get beat, and you're going to blame the goalie. But really, it's the defense that needs to be blamed because the Pittsburgh Penguins defense jumps up into the play. Now, when you look back at the standings, you say, well, geez, both of these teams, the Flyers and the Pens, are just above the Buffalo Sabres. So maybe you would think the Pittsburgh Penguins would trade some or force some defensemen And who's got some defensemen available? Well, Chicago Blackhawks do in Seth Jones. And then there are a couple of other guys, too. As I mentioned previously, from the defensive side, you have Bowen Bryant, who is available from the Sabres, they're in last place anyway. And you've got a good two-way forward in Brock Besser that is coming up here. And Brock Besser is a guy that nobody's really talked much about. So we're going to talk about him as a right winger. The Canucks remain on the playoff fringe, but currently occupying the final Western Conference spot, while also hunting down the LA Kings for the number 3 spot in the Pacific Division. So it remains to be seen whether Vancouver will offload its sharpshooting forward, since the pending unrestricted free agent stands as the club's best available rental player. And Demko's disappointing injury-plagued season could push management to sell, even though the Canucks have ticked up their offloading disgruntled forward JT Miller back to the Rangers, where he came from before, than acquiring defenseman Marcus Pettersson from the Penguins. So I'm not really sure that would be the best move to get rid of Brock Besser, because the guy can't score. He did have a plus-minus problem earlier in his career, but this guy's really turned it around. He's good. And he could be a valuable trade chip that could fetch a first-round pick, since the pending unrestricted free agent scored 40 goals last season and is second on the Canucks at the moment with 16, trailing only Jake DeBrusk at 18. Now, Vancouver president Jim Rutherford has never been shy to make those blockbuster deals. One more than one? Who knows? More than one? I don't know. And Besser averages just under a point per game over his 500-plus NHL games and will top 20 goals again for the 6th time in his career. I don't want to see him go out of Vancouver. He's a good fit. Vancouver's a fun team to watch. How about Rasmus Ristolainen? Here's a defenseman. We're just talking about what the Penguins need. Well, look, right above them are the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, why would they deal off Ristolainen? I don't really think that's a good move, but the Flyers are officially open for business, being essentially in the toilet with the Buffalo Sabres, with Danny Briere likely to be retooling the roster. That makes Ristolainen even more likely to go. And this guy, Ristolainen is a big boy, and he shoots right-handed. 2 facts that make hockey people swoon, of course, which means he should be one of the most coveted players out there. Really, it's the left-handed shot, not so much the right-handed shot from a defenseman standpoint. But this guy's under contract for the next couple of years, so that makes it a very friendly deal, and it's not too terribly much. But Ristolainen does eat minutes as well. He's averaging more than 20 per game on Philadelphia's second pair. He's not even on the top pair, and he's still out there 20 minutes a game. This guy could skate, move the puck, and let's face it, since he's had 4 career 40-point seasons, albeit with Buffalo early in his early 20s, a change of scenery could be great for him. This guy's going to go to a contender. Look for Ristolainen to get dealt off. And another guy is Ryan Donato from the Chicago Blackhawks, and this guy's a center. He's been traded twice already, so he's no stranger to the business, and he's only 28. He appears to finally be realizing his potential in Chicago, since he already has surpassed his career high in points of 37 on this current hot streak. But the Blackhawks already fetched a 3rd-round pick for one-time rental Taylor Hall, and Kyle Davison, the general manager, will almost certainly accept that, or a better pick for Donato, since he is a pending free agent, and Donato has speed, skill, and could play center or winger, and he would really fit well on a contending team, though he's likely to be best suited for a 3rd-line center or number 2 or 3rd-line wing, which is fine. There's a lot of teams that could use this guy. And one team that really probably could use him more than others would be the LA Kings. And the LA Kings have plenty of defense. They have good goaltending. But what they don't have are guys up front. So you look at this list and say, who could the Kings target? I think the Kings could certainly target Donato as a real cheap rental, Ristolainen as a really strong defenseman. Brock Besser would be a really good fit as a right winger for the Kings because the guy could score. And I would probably also throw in Brad Marchand. Brad Marchand would be a lock for the Kings because he plays that kind of a game, a feisty, pesky game, and he would fit in really well with Drew Doughty for the LA Kings. And I think really the only other place the Kings could look would be Mikko Rantanen from the Hurricanes because he's just not getting his potential over there. But ultimately, the Kings are probably the ones that are going to make the most moves. And look, even Brock Nelson from the Isles could go over there too. Now, speaking of which, going back to this hockey thing with the playoffs, and look, You have the playoffs coming up, but remember, we also had an all-star game recently, and it was really the four nations face-off for the National Hockey League that literally just kicked the ass of the National Basketball Association. I mean, it wasn't even close. These guys had 9.3 million viewers, that is, in the United States, another 6-odd million over in Canada. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we look back at the abysmal NBA All-Star Game. They had an abysmal 4.7 million viewers. That's right, 4.7 million viewers. How remarkably embarrassing for the NBA. Well, guess what? The NBA is failing miserably, and good for them. Those guys, I got to tell you, they're all overpaid in my opinion. And what's going to happen? They're going to keep sinking because the National Hockey League is going to overtake them, and that's exactly what's going on in the big four food groups of professional sports: football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for, again, all of our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, etc. And also, make sure you check out the store. Lots of great springtime gear and summer gear coming up. Get your hats, hoodies, your t-shirts, your coffee mugs, travel mugs, pillows, you name it, mouse pads. TheSportsCircus.com has everything for all your sports circus needs. Of course, if you need something. Anyway, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. All right, I'm going to shift into college basketball here. And I have to say, watching Cooper Flagg and the Duke Blue Devils, boy, that's a lot of fun. In fact, it's so much fun, even the Illinois coach seemed to have a little bit of fun with it after a complete dismantling of the University of Illinois Fighting Illini. And the Associated Press, their headline was, Flagg Fun. Illinois coach suggests young Duke star should stay in school and chase a girl. I like this one. This is good. All right, so this is a good story. It's fun because the Illinois coach had to make some light of the complete dismantling of the 110-67 destruction that Duke had over a very good Illinois squad. Now, it's out of New York, Associated Press. Cooper Flagg has certainly lived up to the hype. So it seems a foregone conclusion that the freshman phenom from Duke will become the top pick in this year's NBA draft. And I sure hope so. I've got a couple of those rookie cards. Hey, a shameless plug for going out and getting those rookie cards. But Illinois coach Brad Underwood has a different idea. And Brad had said in an interview after his team got blown out by Flagg and the third-ranked Blue Devils, quote, I hope he stays in school. I mean, if I'm the NCAA or the ACC, I'm figuring out an NIL deal to keep that dude in school because he's everything that's right about our game. Close quotes. What a nice statement. He's everything right about it. As a matter of fact, he continues on with, quote, somebody throw out some story about it. I hope he stays. Man, he'd be great. He could probably make more here than he could in the NBA. He's also got a really good people around him too, and that helps, close quotes. Now, with about 50 professional scouts on hand for a game featuring multiple elite prospects, Cooper had 16 points in a very limited 23 minutes, 7 rebounds, 5 assists in his Madison Square Garden debut, and Duke blew up Illinois 110-67 in a victory so lopsided that Coach John Shire emptied the bench minutes into the final, actually with minutes left in the game itself. That's nuts. And of course, the Blue Devil fans chanted, our house, our house. That's right. You're damn right they did. It's hard for me to say that because I'm from Illinois, but I went to Duke. I did not go to the University of Illinois. I went to Purdue, very close, just down Interstate 70 from Champaign-Urbana in West Lafayette. And it's hard for me to root against a team that the University of Illinois got their colors from my high school, Oak Park and River Forest High School in Oak Park, Illinois. And of course, I've said it a few times here on the show, and I'm going to keep saying it because the Chicago Bears got their colors from the University of Illinois, of course, who got them from Oak Park and River Forest High School. How exciting is that for me? But it's hard for me to root against Illinois only because that's my home state, and I've always rooted for Illinois, except, of course, when they're playing Purdue or they're playing graduate school, Duke, or law school, Loyola Chicago. So I do have to root for those schools because they got my money and I got my degrees from them. However, inside, I still sort of root for Illinois, at least to keep it close, but I do like what the coach has said, and I have to say, it's very nice to hear an opposing coach come out and say something very nice about the other team. And when you admire something so good, I mean, look, Underwood really Brad Underwood really said a mouthful, because Cooper Flagg is that kind of guy. And let's face it, playing in Madison Square Garden is a little bit intimidating. Arguably, the most famous arena in the world. So think about the idea that playing before a sellout crowd of 19,812, right there, just steps away from Broadway, the Blue Devils, 24-3, scored their most points since a 113-49 win over Stetson 7 years ago. And this is against a Big Ten team they did. So they've won 8 straight at the Garden as well. And so, as a matter of fact, Cooper Flagg had said after the game at Madison Square Garden, quote, "I thought it was an incredible atmosphere, just loved the energy, saw so much blue in the crowd," close quote. And this guy, remember, Cooper only played 23 and a half minutes, basically played one half of the game, still scored 16 and put up a bunch of rebounds and whatnot. And they had some assists too. And so, look, Duke handed Illinois the most lopsided loss in their program history. And, of course, after the game, Brett Underwood had asked if the 6'9" forward from Maine is the best player in the country. And he said, quote, "Sure, not even close," close quotes. Cooper Flagg will be the number 1 pick. And look, this kid's 18. And so Underwood continued to say, look, he's 18. Just an 18-year-old kid. Go have fun. Chase a girl. I mean, just enjoy the opportunity. I get the whole thing that slotted. He's going to make it, whatever, make it what it wants to. And he's speaking just completely randomly. He said, "I'm speaking just completely randomly. I don't know the kid or the family, but gosh darn, man, I'm excited about college basketball," close quotes. Another great statement from Underwood. Now, coming into the game, Flagg was averaging 19.7 per game, 7.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.6 steals, and 1.2 blocks per game, leading Duke in all 5 categories. And Underwood said in closing, quote, "I don't want to play against him anymore. I just think he's really good. And now we have NIL, and man, he could really build one heck of a brand, and I would think," close quotes. That's right. But really, we're going to give Underwood, for his kind words, just a very good sportsmanship position for his team, really taking it on the chin. And let's take a look at the standings real quick. We're going to start over in the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference. It's Utah Valley at 12-1, leading the Western Athletic Conference. Behind them is Grand Canyon. They're a game and a half behind Utah Valley. And Cal Baptist sits way back in third. Over in the West Coast Conference, a very, very good St. Mary's Gales team. Boy, I wouldn't want to play them if I was one of the teams out there. That's a team you don't want to play in the tournament because they are good every year. In fact, they sit 3 wins in front of Gonzaga, perennial tournament, Final Four kind of teams, Elite Eight, Final Four team. And the San Francisco Dons are actually tied with Gonzaga at 12-4 in conference. Over the Sun Belt, it's James Madison, the Dukes, at 12-4, 19-10 overall. Got to win that conference, though. That's the way you're going to make it into the tournament. And right behind them is Arkansas State, 1 game behind, tied also with South Alabama and the men of Troy, the Troy Trojans, also at 11-5. That's a real tight race over there. Over in the SWAC, it's Southern University, 13-1, up 3 games on Jackson State, and Alabama State sits behind them at 9-5, tied with Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, and Texas Southern. Over in the Summit Conference, it's Omaha leading the way by a couple of games, actually a game and a half, over St. Thomas. The St. Thomas Tommies, there's a team you don't hear much. And, of course, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, 10-4, South Dakota Coyotes, 8-6, North Dakota State Bison, 9-6. Boy, that's a great conference when it comes to football. All right, over in the Southern Conference is the Chattanooga Mocs at 13-3, sit 1 game ahead of NC Greensboro. The Spartans 12-4, and Sanford 1 game behind them at 11-5. ETSU 10-6. In the Southland, it's McNeese, the Cowboys, 16-1, running away with it over in their conference. They've still got to win the conference tournament, but they may get in anyway at 22-6 overall. Over in the Patriot League, it is the American Eagles. American Eagles 12-6. Ahead, 2 games ahead of the Army Black Knights at 10-6. Bucknell Bison at 11-5. Colgate Raiders at 9-7. I think Colgate, they should name them maybe the toothbrushes or something. I don't know. In the SWAC, over in the Southeast Conference, how about the SEC? Auburn number 1 currently, that's going to change, Florida number 2, Bama number 4, and Tennessee number 6, Texas A&M number 7. That's nuts. Auburn, a 2-game lead over the Florida Gators and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Missouri sits 2 games behind them. But, boy, there's a lot of good teams in the Southeast Conference. Matter of fact, there's a small chance that they could get all 4 number 1 seeds for the first time in their history. The Ohio Valley has Southeast Missouri State, the Redhawks, at 14-4. They're going to have to win that division to make the tournament. And Southern Illinois Edwardsville, the Cougars, at 12-6, tied with Little Rock. The Trojans also at 12-6. In the Northeast Conference is Central Connecticut State at 12-2 over the Long Island University Sharks at 10-4. Everybody else is far behind. Over in the Missouri Valley, a very tough conference. It's Drake, the Bulldogs, 15-3. Very good team every year, along with the Northern Iowa Panthers. Every year those guys are good. The Bradley Braves have come back to prominence. It's been a long time since Bradley. They're down in Illinois, folks, in case you don't know. Bradley is now 13-5, tied with Northern Iowa, and Belmont sits 2 games behind them. Over in the Mountain West, it's New Mexico at 14-2. They're going to make the tournament either way, whether they win it or not. Utah State, 14-3, a very good Utah State team. They have a real shot to make the tournament too. San Diego State is 11-5 in the Mountain West. Over the Mid-American, it's the Akron Zips. They finally lost a game, or won a, they are 13-1 in the conference. Akron's going to make the tournament. Miami, the Redhawks, are 11-3, 2 games behind them. The Mid-East, Norfolk State, they're running away with it. And over in the Metro Atlantic, it is Marist. The Red Foxes, 13-3, tied with Quinnipiac. The Bobcats and Merrimack is 1 game behind them. The Ivy League has the Yale Bulldogs running away with it. They're 11-0 in the conference. They'll be in there. Conference USA is Jacksonville State. The Gamecocks 11-4, and Liberty right behind them, 1.5 a game at 10-4. The Horizon League, Cleveland State. Nobody saw that coming. Cleveland State 13-5 in first place. Robert Morris 1.5 game behind him. Milwaukee 12-6. Purdue Fort Wayne, the Macedons 12-6. Youngstown State 13-6. Somehow they sit behind the other teams, not really sure. And it is Green Bay in last place. Of course, we always laugh at anything Green Bay in last place. Over the Coastal Athletic, it's Towson 14-2. Big West has San Diego. UC San Diego, the Tritons at 14-2, leading the way. In the Big Ten, it's Michigan State 13-3 ahead of Michigan by half a game. Over the Big South, High Point up 2 games over Asheville. The Big East has St. John's running away with it over there over Creighton. Creighton's still a good squad. Big Sky, Montana. Over in the Big 12, it's Houston, the Atlantic Sun, Lipscomb. And, of course, the ACC has Duke on top, A10, Vacom. And then in the American, Memphis, and American East is Bryant. That's going to do it for the circus today. College Hoops. And we'll see you next time in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Till then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517.